Alright, so today it's Foundation Friday. Today's been a weird one. Fried my arm on a pan last night, and then this morning I was wiping off the counter and stuck 3 fingers in a burning hot toaster, trying to move it. Today for Foundation Friday, I thought it'd be interesting to do a half-face comparison side by side using the same exact foundation but just different products and techniques to show you how you can really transform one foundation that you have and get an entirely different look out of it. The product I'm going to be using is a drugstore foundation. This is easiest if you have a medium to full coverage foundation because it's easier to kind of sheer out products than to add coverage. But if you're excited for Foundation Friday and you enjoy while you're watching, you can give this a thumbs up. If you're new here, I upload every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 6 p.m. Pacific time. Foundation Friday is every single Friday on my channel. I have a Foundation Friday playlist. Hundreds of foundation reviews are there, and also just different kinds of videos on different routines, my concealer routine, top favorite foundations, everything is in that playlist. I'm trying these in press-on nails right now. Normally I like the Kiss ones, like the glue-ons. So far my hair keeps getting caught in between these. All right, so I'm going to go through one step on this side, one step on this side by side so we can see kind of how the look transforms. And the only product that I'm using the same on both sides is my SPF, which I'm going to use the Biore UV because this one's just a very kind of even keel, not too dewy, not too matte kind of SPF. And because a lot of the other products I'm using on one side are super dewy, I don't want to go overboard with the glowy SPF as well. So I'm going to put this all over my face. Basically what we're going to do is one side of my face using the same foundation is going to be full coverage and more matte. And then the other side is going to be total opposite, light coverage and glowy. So the foundation I decided to transform for this video is the L'Oreal Infallible Fresh Wear because I feel like a lot of people have this foundation, a lot of people like this foundation. It's from the drugstore, it's easily accessible, but also it is kind of that like medium everything foundation where there's not tons of coverage, but it's not light coverage. And the finish is a true, I would say, satin finish on this one. So it's kind of like one of those products that you can really tweak to make your own since it's not super, super matte or super, super dewy. Because I have more to cover up on this side of my face, just with scarring, I'm going to do the full coverage side on this side of my face and then the light coverage glowy on this side. So let's start off with primer. So starting off on this side of my face, the full coverage, I'm going to use the Tatcha Silk Canvas Primer. The reason I'm reaching for this one is because it actually does add some coverage to your foundation somehow. I did a side-by-side wear test on this product if you want to see that, link in the eye down below. But if you want a more affordable option, you could use the e.l.f. Matte Putty Primer as well for this step. Sephora keeps putting like tiny samples of this too into different orders, so you might have like a sample lying around with this. And then on this side of my face to prime, I really like using any kind of dewy moisturizing spray that you have if I'm going for this kind of look. It just preps the skin really nicely to make sure it's nice and hydrated and that product's going to look really skin-like on top as well. I like using this for any kind of foundation, especially if I have like a more matte one. I'm just going to do a couple sprays on that side, let it dry down. You can also use this over your makeup if you wanted to, but basically when I went on Accutane and my skin became severely dry, I realized how critical the products that you put underneath and over actually are. If you don't prep your skin well, the foundation is going to look so much crappier over top. If you have severely dry skin, I will link a video down below where I go through kind of my Accutane foundation routine and I talk through all the steps that I did before makeup that really makes a difference. So you can see this side is super glowy and then this side is still glowy from the SPF, but it's not, you know, as reflective and glowy as this side. So now we're going to go in with the actual foundation, the L'Oreal Fresh Wear. I'm using the shade 410. I'm kind of like in between 400 and 410. This one does work for me and I'd rather it be a tiny bit dark than light. So when I'm trying to get the most coverage out of a product, I always like to use my Sigma F80 flat top kabuki brush and I like to stipple it on. If you go in and blend in circular motions, you're just kind of like smearing around the product and shearing it out. But if you stipple it on, you're just pressing it into the skin and getting the most coverage possible. So because I have scarring and stuff on this side, we're gonna cover that up. So I do feel like, especially with this foundation, the Tatcha does make a difference because sometimes on me this foundation can look more medium coverage, sometimes it can look more full coverage. It really depends on also the amount of product that you're using, but already, I mean, we're getting pretty dang good coverage. I'm gonna try and do like half-half with my forehead right down the middle. See how that goes. Okay, so we're gonna go for the total opposite on this side. I'm gonna make this look like a glowy tinted moisturizer that basically just looks like your skin. So in order to do that, we're gonna take the Essence Fresh and Fit Awake Primer. This is a few bucks. It's one of my favorite products of all time. Like underneath makeup, this is beautiful. If you're just wearing it on its own on a no foundation day, this is freaking stunning. It just makes your skin look super healthy, glowy, and almost like plumps it up a bit. I'm almost out of this, but I'm gonna take a little squeeze of this on the back of a palette. I'm just using my Bath & Body Works candle lid. Then I'm going to be taking the same foundation and mixing in just a dot of this, and this is going to sheer it out while still giving that really pretty skin-like glow to moisturizer kind of look. So someone just knocked. We're going to forget that. Make sure your hands are clean, folks. Okay, so then I'm just going to start with a really small amount because it kind of depends on how much foundation you mix in. And because we want this side to just look very natural, I'm just going to start with a tiny amount. I can always add more if I need to. I am going to use a brush for this because for me, I don't know, a sponge, if I'm doing this kind of look, usually gives me even less coverage than I'm going for, so I do still like to use a brush. So as you can see, mixing it in with that Essence primer just gives you the most beautiful glow, and in real life it basically is just melted into my skin. I can't see any kind of foundation sitting on top of my skin. It basically just looks like my skin, which is what we're going for. On this side, freckles are still coming through, versus on this side, definitely have more coverage. So here's a little side by side so far. Before I move on to the next step, I'm just going to pop on some brows. Next time you see me, I will have full brows on. All right, brows have arrived. Depending on the look, I do my concealer differently. If I'm doing this kind of look, basically what I showed you in my recent glass skin makeup tutorial, so I'm not going to go super in depth here because I went very in depth in that video. I'll link that in the eye and down below. But essentially, if I have a full coverage foundation, I like a full coverage concealer. If I have a sheer base, I basically like to just brighten the under eye because as you can see, I have a lot of darkness, especially like towards my inner corner. So I like a brightening product that I don't have to set. So for me, that's the Becca Under Eye Corrector. Friggin' love this thing. I don't talk about it enough, but it is amazing. And I'm just using the Morphe E45 with this. I'm just gonna focus this towards the inner part of my eye, stipple a bit, and then bring it right in here since that's where I have the majority of the darkness. And that just instantly makes you look more alive without having to put a full-on concealer on, and I don't have to set my under eyes with powder. For me, if I'm doing a light coverage look, if I use powder underneath my eyes, it just ruins the whole thing for me because then I have powder and then you can like see a difference between the two textures. For me, it just doesn't work. So I prefer to not use powder if I'm doing a very light coverage sheer look. And then on this side where I want full coverage, I'm gonna do the exact concealer routine that I recently posted using the NARS concealer. So I'm just gonna fast forward through this part. If you wanna know every step and what I'm doing, check out the concealer routine video. So I'm not going to touch this side of my face with powder at all, but a trick that I like to do when I'm going for full coverage is use a powder foundation. Not all powder foundations are created equal. Some of them can make you look cakey, some of them don't add any coverage, some of them have a ton of pigment to them and actually can add a lot of coverage. So for me, I have two products that really stand out that I wanted to mention. The first is the Makeup Forever Matte Velvet Skin Powder. I'm using the shade R210, and then also the Urban Decay 20CP Naked The Fix Powder. Both of these I absolutely love. This one does have a bit more coverage, so if you're going for opaque kind of coverage, go in with this. And I also love that this is another one of those products that you can really use in multiple ways. You could use a bigger, fluffier brush and get less coverage and just do like a light dusting over your face. You could use this as powder foundation just on its own. This one I don't like using on its own. Mine is super clean. But with powders, for me, because my skin is so odd with them, I just use whatever works. If it says a powder foundation, it doesn't mean you can only use it as a powder foundation, you know? If you find a shade that works, you could use it to set your eyes. It all just depends on the actual product and how it sits on your skin. So I kind of like to play around with different products and use them in different ways. Let's go in with the powder foundation. So my favorite brush to apply this is the Milani Powder Bronzer Brush. So I'm just gonna tap in my brush. And again, I'm going to press in the powder and not swirl because it's gonna pick up the liquid foundation underneath if you do that. So you can see I still have a tiny bit of like freckles and scarring coming through right there. And once I put this on, that will pretty much be gone. So this does have a, I would say like soft matte finish. So we're gonna get that more matte look on this side. And then depending on the setting spray that you use over top, you can really change the finish from here. So if you like full coverage, but you want a dewy finish, you could use a dewy setting spray over top. So I'm just kind of focusing it right here without bringing it all the way in to the center of my face. I also avoid powder on my upper lip since that's where I get creasing a lot. Okay, so I feel like now you can really see a difference. Setting spray is one of those things that I feel like you either don't ever use it or you can't live without it. And for me, I'm definitely in the can't live without it category. Not as much for making my makeup stay on longer, just really making it look like skin and adding that like moisture back into your skin, and you can completely alter the finish of a foundation that way. So if I'm going for more of a matte look but I still want to set my face, I usually use the Urban Decay All Nighter just because this one isn't super glowy. But if I wanted to really make this side dewy, I would either go with MAC Fix Plus or Catrice Dewy Glow, and this would take it from super matte to very glowy, like look like you have a dewy foundation on. Because today, just for the effect, I want to keep my skin more matte, but I do still want to set it, I'm just going to use 1 or 2 sprays of this from far away. I don't want a ton because I don't want to make it too glowy. And then on this side of my face, because we're going for that very skin-like dewy look, you know what, we're going all out today. So I'm going to use my Catrice Dewy Glow, shake this up, and I'm just going to do 1 spray of this because this you can really get intense with. I'm going to do the rest of my makeup how I would if I was wearing a light coverage foundation like this versus how I would if I was wearing a full coverage foundation. Just my base, I'm not going to do my eyes, I don't think, today. But just so you can kind of see the full effect, so I'm going to take the Essence Sun Club bronzing palette and go with this shade and apply on the full coverage side. And then I do want to contour a bit on this side, so I'm going to use the 07 Almond Blossom blush. I'm going to take a little NARS Orgasm on this side. Then I'm actually going to add a touch of the Hourglass Ethereal Light Powder as basically my highlight on this side. All right, then on this side, I'm going to use a cream bronzer. It's actually a foundation stick technically, but it works well as a bronzer. It's the Haley's 4.25 foundation stick. And I'm just going to add a little bit of this. It looks like crazy orange, but once you blend it out with a sponge, melts right in and looks good. Then I'm going to take one of my favorite cream highlighters, which is the Flesh Startle. This is so freaking pretty. It looks like just that glossy, like wet skin look. It is so freaking stunning. So I'm just going to use my finger, tap that on. Oh my god, it is so gorgeous. If you wanted extra glow, you could bring a little bit right here, like right in the middle of your eyebrow and go up just so when the light hits it, it's really bam. I guess my nose is going to be on the light coverage dewy side. Last step, I'm just going to pop on some lip gloss. This one's by Catrice. It's the Volumizing Lip Booster. I've been really liking this. Gives you a little tingle, but not lips on fire kind of tingle. All right, so here's the final look. Here we have the full coverage, more matte side. And then here we have the light coverage, super glowy, dewy, natural side. Let me know down below which side you guys prefer, and let me know if you try this out using any of your foundations. Like I said, it's easier to do this with the medium full coverage foundation because you can sheer it out more rather than taking a light coverage foundation and trying to build it up to like this kind of coverage. You absolutely do not have to have 20 different face products just to achieve different kinds of looks, and I hope this kind of shows you that. Now is a perfect time to play around with your favorite foundation that you have lying around at home and just discover new ways that you can use it. I am a big fan of mixing foundations with each other, mixing foundations with other products, and just creating a base that works for you and that you love, because not every foundation works great for everyone. So you could also use it in that way where maybe you have a foundation that you never got around to returning, or you just don't like it and it's sitting there just taking up room. Instead of completely getting rid of it, you might actually be able to find a way that you can kind of repurpose it and use it in a different way. So I really hope you guys enjoyed this Foundation Friday and found it helpful. If you did, you can give it a thumbs up. Let me know if you would want to see this done with any specific foundations. Like maybe I could take the most popular foundations that most people have and completely try and make them look different. Could be fun. I don't know. Let me know what you think. But I'll have all the products I used on my face today listed down below in the description box, broken down by light coverage side versus high coverage side. Wow, my hair is getting crappier looking by the minute. I just need you to chill for 2 more seconds. But I love you guys. Thanks for watching. See you in my next video. Bye. So far my hair keeps, oh my god. Filming is gonna be wild today. I can feel it.